wonderful presenter for us today. We are so excited to have Miss India Gary Martin for us today, being our facilitator of crafting your master plan. Before she gets in here and takes over this workshop, I will read you her bio for those who do not know her. India Martin is a 25-year veteran of financial services and a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. She has held a number of global C-suite roles, including expatriate assignments in London, Frankfurt, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. In her final role at JP Morgan, India was managing director and global chief operating officer for investment banking technology and operations, where she had multi-billion-dollar budgetary management responsibility for 15,000 staff in more than 40 global locations. India is a globally recognized leadership expert and coach with a clientele of Fortune 500 and C-suite executives from around the world. Formerly an adjunct professor of corporate education at Temple University in Japan, she is a well-known keynote and panel speaker. India is on the coaching faculty at Georgetown University for the Executive Masters in Leadership, and is also on the coaching faculty of the New York City Bar Association's Associate Leadership Institute. Without further ado, I want to welcome you, Ms. India Martin, crafting your master plan. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. It is so good to see you all. I see lots of familiar faces. It makes me so happy because I miss so many of you that I'm seeing on the screen. I'm used to seeing a lot of you often, and so not seeing you, it makes me a little emotional to see your faces on the screen. But welcome to everybody. And for those of you who I don't know, I'm emotional to see you too. I'm just happy to be here. So whether I know you or not, I'm glad that you've joined me at this time of night on a Monday evening. I must have done something right. Or actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. Joey did something right. Dr. Joey did something right to get and Rachel to get all these people in the room. So, so thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you tonight to talk about crafting your master plan. A lot of the stuff that you'll hear will be things that you know, right? It's really about getting you to kind of collate those thoughts and think about what's next. And we're going to talk about the different kinds of goals, how you craft your goals, but I think more importantly, doing some self-reflection on who you want to be and how you want to show up. Because before you even think about my plan, you really need to know who you are in this and how you want to show up. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that too. So without further ado, one second, I'm going to get my slides going here. Here I said those things about me. I'm going to keep moving. Let's do a quick check-in. So what's your name and where do you live? In the chat. I just need you all to know that I am a super, super chat person. Like I am always in the chat. So please talk to me. It's how I know that I'm hitting the right tones. If you're bored, I need to know that too. Type that in the chat as we go along. But I really, just the chat is great. Hi, Joshua from Ashburn and Amani in Virginia. A lot of the Maryland, DC, Silver Spring crew. I see Paula Kobana, Memphis. Hi, Diara from Memphis. And gosh, this is great. Lots of people from all over the place. Tucson, Arizona. I bet the weather is better there than it is here. I wish that was where I was. Arkansas, so Detroit. Yeah, Tiffany, you're in Arkansas. You should have said Arkansas. Arkansas. Okay, so we'll say Arkansas by way of Detroit. Joya, hi, Joya. So we have lots of folks here. Okay, so it's really good to see you all. And we're going to kind of kick off. And I have a question again, because I like you in the chat practicing. And my question is, what are you hoping to learn today? Think about that for a second. What are you hoping to learn today in the chat? Let's make sure we cover all your wants and wishes and needs. I'd hate for you to leave here and be like, she didn't say anything that I wanted to hear about. So I want to make sure that we've done that. Momentum after retirement. Yeah, you know what? The fact that you're talking about retirement and I'm not sure I'm going to cover that because I'm really jealous. But that's another story. So momentum after retirement, good stuff. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, lots of folks. Okay, momentum with family, discipline tools, best practices. That's a great one. Strategy, how to focus on myself. What is a master plan and how does it work? Good question. Self-accountability. Whew, that self-accountability thing is a big one. We all set goals, but the question is how many of us actually achieve those goals, right? That's why I don't do resolutions, because they never work. But that's another story. I'll come to that too. How to create a personal master plan, tools to achieve something bigger. Paul says develop a good filter for determining what is really possible with a stretch. That is a big one, right? There is something about, assessing your capability and your aspirations, and making sure that the goal is great, but if you don't have the capability of achieving that goal, then it's simply a goal, right? And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't set stretch goals, because you should, but then in doing that, you need to kind of consider and think about, how am I going to actually meet this goal? What are the things I need to do other than, outside of the kind of goal itself, right? So if you have a stretch goal that you're going to, and I'm making this up completely, it's just kind of a made up goal. But if you had a goal that you were going to start a software company, but you didn't know anything about software, that's great. It's still a goal, and it's not that it's not achievable, but what do you need to do to get ready to do that if that's what you want to do and it's not inside of your domain expertise? You want to do something else. You're going to need to figure out, how does a software company run? What are those things? And here's the thing about goals for me anyway. I prefer to set them in the interim way. So if you knew that you wanted to start a software company, I think the goal for me would likely be learn more about software companies first. They have to be achievable, and I'll come to that. Because if you make them too big and too stretched, they're hard to meet. And what happens when you don't meet a goal? It's a little deflating, isn't it? It can be a little deflating when you've set something with a lot of intention and excitement, and then you don't meet it. So in terms of setting the goals, they also need to be in line with your capability, frankly, in the first instance, and things that you can do. So, what do you do when you feel like giving up on your plan? Absolutely, that's a big one, and we'll definitely talk about that, because it's important. The thing about a master plan, the thing about a plan, and keep moving in just a second. But the thing about a plan is that it evolves all the time. But more than that, it's about the fact that when you're setting your goals and setting your plans, if you're only relying on yourself, then you're probably going to not get there, right? This is not a goal, doesn't mean I have to do every single thing, right? You need support, you might need help, and that's okay, right? And in fact, the more help you have, the more likely you are to meet your goal. So I will absolutely talk about what it's like, what you do when you feel like giving up on your plan. And that's a lot of that is about your community and building a community around you to help keep you accountable, but more than keeping you accountable, to support you, right? Because we're adults and there is accountability that's required, but it's really about support and building your community to support you in achieving the goals that you want to have. So just making sure I didn't miss anything, but great stuff. So thank you for using the chat. I'm going to be asking you questions the whole time. So you're going to want to be, going into the chat and doing that. So what is a master plan? What's a master plan? It was really interesting because I thought about this when I was thinking about this course, and we had a conversation about, kind of leading a workshop about a master plan. A master plan is essentially I think it is, a group of goals that help you get to what you want to do, right? And this is the thing about master plan, just like goals, it's a living document. It's living. Your master plan is living, because guess what? There will come a point if you set these 4 goals this year, and I'm not telling you to set goals annually, because you can set a goal that goes out 5 years if you want to. That's okay. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to set specific times to get to something, right? But as you reach those goals, then what's your next master plan going to be? So it's a living document. It is not a thing that you finish. Your master plan finishes when you walk through those pearly gates. That's when your master plan, and that's then you're doing some other master plan that we can't talk about here, but your master plan continues your entire life, right? And it will always evolve and shift. So when you think about this master plan, just call this master plan version 1, right? For those of you who've done it before, you might be on master plan version 45, 55, 60, whatever it is, but your master plan will evolve as you do. And the idea is that you're always forward looking into the future when you think about what you want to do. Okay. And just kind of setting those things, always kind of thinking about what's next. That doesn't mean you don't rest and you're not happy in where you are, because a master plan is only about you managing that process. It's not about changing who you are. Right. So we're going to do some work on who you are and who you want to be. And that's a very different thing than your master plan. Okay. If I'm speaking to you and you're hearing me, give me a thumbs up. If I'm not, do this. Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because I'll blank your screen. Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you need more information, put it in the chat. If you'd like me to go further on a point, put it in the chat. Keep going because I want the chat to be moving while I'm talking. Okay, so here's my question then. I'm going to put you in your first breakout room because the thing is about a workshop is you need to be working. You need to be talking. You need to be moving. You need to be doing something. It's not going to be me talking to you. I'm going to be asking you some prompts, which helps you to start to shape the master plan. This is not going to be all breakouts, but right now we're going to go into one. It's going to be random. I'm not, there are now 29 of you in a room. So there will be, I will say there will be 3 of you per room. And what I'm going to ask you to talk about is, what do you want to be known for? What do I want to be known for? That doesn't mean I want to be known as the best entrepreneur either. What do I want to be known for as a person? Right, this is a values question. And you can't build your master plan without being really clear about the values that are going to drive it. So my first question for you is, what do you want to be known for? I'm going to drop you in a room. It is 7:18. I will pull you back at 7:25. So you got to keep it sharp. Everybody gets like 2 minutes to talk about what they want to be known for. Okay. So go into the room, talk about what you want to be known for. I hope you have paper and pencil because you need to write this stuff down. You want to capture it. We're working in our workshop. So you should see in a second an invitation to go into a room. Okay, and you can go ahead and go whenever you see the invitation, and I will see you back. Okay, I always know there's really good conversation going on when the room has to bring you back and people don't come back automatically. So I think there were some good conversations going on. So good, I'm glad for that. I'm going to ask, because, I love my chat and I have to know what happened in the room and I couldn't be in all of them. So give me one word in the chat. What do you want to be known for? Just try to sum up in one word. I know it's a long thing. Give me a description. What do you want to be known for? As being a conduit. Okay, I see you. That's a good one. What else? What else, people? Being a helper, being a good person, giving, legacy, counselor. This is a giving bunch, but I know some of these faces. Urban designer, love that, Amanda. Addressing education inequity. Yep, that's a big one. Teacher, teaching, invoke thought, loving well. My part in the revolution. Listen, you and me both. That is a whole different. That's another webinar. that's another workshop. Helping broken people become whole. Being a good father and husband, change agent, wonderful things, mentoring, caring for others, farming and healing. Listen, I want to farm and heal. I need to do both. Nurturer, public speaker, wonderful. Okay, so there's some great stuff here. Thanks for sharing it. No, as known as bringing something to the table. Absolutely. Valuable, our value. So those things are all wonderful. And I'm glad that you spent a little bit of time. And here's the thing. It's really funny because a friend of mine that I do some leadership coaching with, leadership development work with, she said we were in a course teaching some people. And this is the next question I'm going to ask you. You're not going to go to breakout room, but as we're thinking about your goals and thinking about what you want to be known for, she said that every person has a leadership aroma. I was like, what? What is that? Basically, what does it smell when you leave the room? Does it smell like roses because you left people feeling good? Or is it funky because you left people feeling bad? So what is your leadership aroma? What do you want your leadership aroma to be? So not only what do you want to be known for, what do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? And that's an important thing to think about, right? Because, often we're not aware of the impact we have on other people. We're busy, we're rushing, we're doing things, whatever it might be. And we didn't mean to be rude, or we didn't mean to put that person off, or we didn't mean to. But actually, we have to be cognizant of those things. When you're thinking about your master plan and thinking about your goals, how are you going to achieve goals? Remember, I talked about that community that you need to help you develop those, to deliver those goals, to help you deliver those goals. How are you going to build community if you leave in a funky leadership aroma when you leave the room? Right? You want it to smell good when you leave. You want people to feel good having been with you and having spent time with you. And a lot of you are very clear about that because all like 98% of the things you said in the chat were about people feeling good. You know, even Covenant said public speaker. People need to feel good when you're speaking in public, right? People need to feel good when you're speaking to them. But a nurturer, that makes people feel good. Healing, it makes people feel good, right? Project manager, when people deliver on their stuff, you feel good. When they don't, we don't feel so good. So, you know, all those kinds of things, right? So just think about how you want people to feel too after having been in your presence when you're thinking about the community you're going to develop to help you shape your goals. I'm a much more hearts and minds kind of leadership development person. Process is great, but you can't do anything without people. You can't do anything without understanding the impact that you have on people. You could want to lead anything you want to lead, but if people don't feel good about you, it doesn't matter. Even if you get into that seat, you won't be in it for long if people don't feel good about you. And that's really important to understand. It doesn't mean that you can't set boundaries. It just means that you need to think about the impact that you have on other people. So when you're thinking about setting your goals and your master plan, you can't leave people out of that master plan and the impact that you have. Okay, so let's go back to the slides for a minute here. Okay, so here's the other part of your master plan. Be authentic about it. It has to be about you. Your master plan can't be about what you're going to do for other people. Right? When I say that, I mean, yes, obviously you may be in service to other people as a result, but your personal master plan is about you and being authentically who you are in that. Right? And being okay with that. It's about being consistent. Even though they really be consistently who you are. So setting a goal that has nothing to do with who you are or what you're trying, what you inevitably want to achieve isn't very helpful. Right? So consistency is important. Clarity. So this is a big one for me because when I hear people talk about setting their goals and hear about setting a plan, but not understanding why, there's a disconnect because you're likely not going to succeed. So you need to ask yourself for each of the goals that you set, which we're going to talk about and get into, but for each of the goals that you set, what is your why for that goal? And the first why isn't enough. You need to do 5. If you want to get to the root why, you ask yourself why 5 times. I want to be a basket weaver. Why? Because I think baskets are pretty. Why? Because I really love the artistry. Why? Because the straw is really whatever. Why? Because I want to build something that's beautiful that holds, whatever it might be. But ask yourself why 5 times to get to the real reason. And if that reason doesn't resonate with you, that goal is not going to succeed. That is not a goal that you need to set. So when you get to the root why of why you're setting a specific goal, if it does not resonate with you when you get to the root, because it's easy to resonate up here, right, with your first thought. It's real easy to resonate up in the air and in the sky with your first thought. It's just, you know, it's a thought. It's not anything that you've concretely considered. So if you ask yourself those 5 whys and you get to the root and it's still an important one to you, it's right. It's a good goal. But if it isn't, toss it and keep it moving. Don't spend too much time on it. Because there has to be a connectivity to you and your goal. There has to be a connectivity to you and your goal. And a connectivity isn't just saying that it's your goal. Connectivity is feeling it and owning it and knowing that it's actually solving something that you want to achieve. Because often we put goals out there that isn't really solving for anything that we really want to do. It's a goal because it sounds good and people tell us we should do it this way. It needs to be yours authentically. It needs to be yours consistently, and it needs to be yours clearly. Underpinned by your narrative. Be really clear about what your narrative is around your master plan and who you are. Because if you don't tell your narrative, people will assume it and make it up. How many people in the chat just say yes or no? Or you can say yes, yes, only yes if you're answering the question. But how many people have had people think things about you that just weren't true? Anybody? I know people have had, I was going to say, y'all slow on that button. Don't be ashamed. Put it out there. It's okay. It's okay. See, people saying things about you that aren't true. You know why that usually is? Because you're not owning your narrative. Because if you don't speak it, people will make it up. Because that's just human nature. Because people want to know about other people and human interaction, right? So if you're not being clear about your narrative, people will make up what they think based upon the little bit of information that they have. I'm not saying rush out here and tell all your business. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be very clear about what your narrative is. And when you're thinking about trying to achieve a goal, particularly for those of you who are thinking about doing that in a career space where your goals might also be career related goals, make sure that you're really clear about what those goals are, that people understand that. If you're looking for that promotion, don't assume that you're just going to get it. Make sure somebody understands that's an expectation that you have. You have to speak it. Okay, so make sure that your narrative is authentic, it's consistent, and it's clear. Because guess what? When I had all those staff, the people, the dog that barks the loudest, that's what they say. I'm gonna quote that from Henry Stewart. When I know it came from Papa Stewart and Angelica, I'm sure it did. But a dog who barks the loudest, right? And I had some people who'd be like, I want to move into management. I want to do this, and would consistently be at my door. And even though they might not have been ready then, I understood that was an expectation they had, and I did things I was thinking about it, right? So you have to make your goals known to people, particularly where your goals are in the delivery of those goals may be in somebody else's hands. If it's something you can do yourself, that's one thing. But if somebody else is involved in helping you to deliver that goal, you need to be clear they understand what that is. Give me a thumbs up if you're with me, if I'm moving in the right direction. Maybe. I saw a few thumbs. Well, I'll take it. Okay, thank you, thank you. I saw some more. Okay, good. I feel better about that now. Okay, so let's go into goal setting. Okay, this is my favorite little target slide. Goals, because there are 4 types that we're going to talk about in goal setting. So here are the 4: stepping stone goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, and lifetime goals. I'm going to make this bigger because I know that my green is a funky green and it's going to be hard for you to see. But let me make this bigger for you so you can at least see the slide, because I have the little breakouts. And in those goals, the kind of questions people ask are, how do I stay accountable? How many goals should I have? How do I measure my goals? Right? So those are the kinds of things that people ask. So let's start with the types first. So what are stepping stone goals? Anybody have a guess? Anybody want to give me a guess what a stepping stone goal is in the chat? Anybody? I'm gonna wait for just a second and give you a second to think about it. But what's a stepping stone goal? Education leads to another goal, starting point, baby steps to get started. Yep. Okay, so that's right. So yeah, stepping stone goal is, your starting point. You're the first kind of goals that you have. They don't have to be big. It prepares you for something else. Listen, y'all could be teaching this class. I'm reading these comments. I'm thinking you all would be in here teaching, because there's some good stuff here. So, a goal that prepares you, the smartest thing you can do, smallest thing you can do, maybe not the smallest, but it may be a small thing. The foundation of your goal. So a stepping stone goal. And it could, I always encourage people to, when you're thinking about your goals, especially seriously for the first time or seriously in this way, to make it something that you can achieve, right? So a smaller kind of stepping stone goal. So what's a short-term goal? I know you all know, I'm just going to say it because I know you know. So a short-term goal is one that is a pretty finite period of time, shorter, closer to now. So let's just call a short-term goal would be, in my estimation, I kind of call a short-term goal 12 months is my kind of short term. That's my frame. You can set it for whatever you want to set it for, but short term is usually 12 months for me. That's mine. My longer term goals can go out for 10 years. They're just kind of a longer term things you want to do. But here's the thing. Don't make it so long that you forget about it. Right? Or make it so long or so far out there that it never comes off your list. Make sure it's something that even if you put it out, that you can achieve. So a goal might be, I want to buy my first house in 6 or 7 years. That's fine. That's a goal, because that's one that obviously you'll get to, right? But if you're not going to study science and you say that your goal is going to be a rocket scientist at NASA in 10 years, not sure that you're going to get to that goal. So be really clear about the kind of goals you can have that you can achieve over a long term versus those that you may not. The long term is 3 to 5 years. I think Deborah says. Anything you accomplish in less 6 to 12 months. Yep. So it kind of depends on what you have. I mean, what your frame is. I tell people that their long term and short term goals are theirs, right? Just like your master plan is yours, the length of time that you put on short and long term is yours. So that's a decision that you can make. But my barometer is about 12, is less than 12 months for short term, and then 5 to whatever for longer term. But you can use those, and Deborah has a good frame that she uses here too. And then lifetime goals. What are your lifetime goals, you think? Those are kind of the big things, your big life goals. Life goals may be to retire early. Listen, that is mine, but it is not looking that way for me right now. It could be some other things, big picture. Yeah, kind of the things that are out there. So one of my lifetime goals was to have children, and I have three. And so I met one of my lifetime goals. One of my lifetime goals was to move back home and to be near my family. So that's something that's happened that I've done. But there are some other lifetime goals I have. Like I do have retirement as a lifetime goal. We'll see how that goes. But I do have retirement as a lifetime goal, some other things. So think about what your lifetime goals are. And the reason I ask you to be thoughtful about these four types of goals and to understand them is because you want to, I always suggest when you're first kind of thinking about your goals, don't lock yourself down, right? Write as many goals as you want. Put them into these categories and then decide. Right. So write these four things, right? Stepping stone goals, get your piece of paper, stepping stone goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, and lifetime goals. Okay, put those on a piece of paper and then write your goals under each of those and then decide what your goals are going to be. How many goals should I have? I always tell people, like, I don't have more than 3 or 4 ever. Because it's just not, I mean, when you have 10 goals, that's cute, but how much are you going to do? It's a lot, unless you break them in. You can do it if you break them into the categories. If you split out my lifetime goals of this, that's fine, because that's not going to move much. Maybe some long-term goals. But when you're talking about kind of your stepping stone or short-term goals, you don't want more than 3 or 4. Because you need to have stuff that's manageable, that you can really get next to and understand and think about. Okay, so staying accountable, I mentioned this earlier, but staying accountable is really about that your community, right? If when you write these goals, share them with somebody who's important to you and talk to them about it and say, listen, these are my goals and I need an accountability partner on these. And that doesn't mean that you want somebody to police you, but you need somebody to support you in achieving those goals. So when you're thinking about who it might be, think about somebody who's supportive. Like my husband could not be my accountability partner. He's lovely and he's supportive-ish, but he'll be like, did you do that thing yet? And I'm like, wait, I need support. I don't need you to challenge me on my goals. So my sister, however, is a teacher and she's all nurturing and she's the one that's my accountability partner on my goals. I'm like, here are my goals. And she's like, okay. And so she's gentle. She'll say, so how are we coming on that goal? Is there anything I can do to help you? And that's much better. I prefer that approach myself. My husband's a little bit of a drill sergeant. He can't hear me, so it's okay. So I'm going to keep him off to the side. But thinking about who is your accountability partner is really important, because even though it might be somebody we love, if they're not in the mindset of being supportive about your goals and giving you some space, not necessarily to meet every single milestone that you need to make under that goal, it might be better to consider someone else. So that's just a helpful little tool that I learned the hard way because I tried it. So just, so that's from practice. So I want to talk about your immediate goals. I'm going to break you out. This is only a 5-minute breakout because I want to get you back because I have a few more things to go through. 5-minute breakout. What type of goals do you have? Remember I showed you those. So let me go back to them so you can see them. And it will be I'll put it in the broadcast message. The things you're thinking about today, as we've been talking, are they stepping stone goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, or lifetime goals? Primarily. You might have something in all of them, but where are you thinking? What are you feeling right now? So I'm going to drop you back into breakouts. You're going to be with different people this time. You will not be with the same ones. So have fun, and I will see you back in 5 minutes. Okay, so we're going to keep moving because I can't believe that we're only 12 minutes away from the top of the hour, and I do want to leave some room for questions. So let me go back to this. I'm not going to go, this is what I want. So how do we measure our goals? Right? And I'm sure you've all seen SMART goals. You're probably like, yeah, we've all seen it, but I'm going to remind you because I want to make sure you got it. Paul, I see you nodding your head. I can see you. You know, you can't see me, but I can see you. So specific, what is the goal? Like specifically, what is the goal? And I gave you the 5 whys to figure that, to think that one through. How are you going to measure it? So how do you know when you're there? How do you know that goal is done? Right. So but again, be specific about that. So when you're writing a goal, don't just write what the goal is, write how do you know when it's done? When is done for you on this goal? Is it something you can achieve? And I talked about this a little bit before, right? Is it something you can achieve? Well, maybe, maybe not. But here's the thing: make sure your aspiration, like what you want, is in line with your capability. That is important. Aspiration and capability should be aligned when you're setting your goals. It can be absolutely be a goal to enhance your capabilities so you can meet another goal, but let's not jump straight to the goal that you don't have the capability to do right now. And that's not a negative thing. It's the truth. Sometimes we have to learn things before we can get to the thing that we want to do. So if you want to be a real estate broker, you got to study to do the license, right? So I wouldn't jump directly to broker. I'd jump directly to getting my license, right? So think about it that way. What are the steps? And set your goals in an attainable way so that you can achieve it and that you can move on to the next thing. Relevant. Is your goal important to you, or is it important to somebody else? Ask yourself that question. It is very hard to do things for other people. I mean, not do, we all do things for other people, but when you're talking about goals that require your personal commitment, it needs to be something that is important to you. And then time bound. What's the time frame? And we talked about those things, right? So that's my cue for you to start telling me what kind of goals you were going to set from the breakout room. So tell me in the chat, what are some of the kinds of goals that you were going to achieve? What you're looking to achieve, you're going to achieve. I'm going to affirm it. What kind of goals were you looking for? Were there stepping stone goals? Were there short-term goals, long-term goals, lifetime goals? Come on, tell me. I know you all can type faster than that. Let me see some short-term goals. Okay, so Joe has some Paula long-term goals. Okay, Amanda long-term. Okay, it's good. Okay. Mike has long-term goals too, short and long-term. Okay, both. Lifetimes, Amanda, me too, lifetimes. Paula, not too long, girl, not too long because I'm getting old. Did you see this in the chat? You can't be putting that in the chat. Stepping stone and lifetime. Okay, so fine. So people have a lot of different kinds of goals. The key here is understanding the kind of goal that it is, right? Because also, here's the thing: things change, goals change. And you have to grant yourself grace when it doesn't go the way that you expected it to go. Right? So the goal that you set for yourself, we're often our harshest critics. The goals that you set for yourself, they're important. And you absolutely should go through this process. But sometimes there will be environmental factors that mean that your goals are difficult to meet right now. Grant yourself grace on that. You have to be kind to yourself in achieving your goals. You have to be kind to yourself, period. You can't achieve your goals without self-care. So I want you to think about how you're caring for yourself as you are going to meet these goals. Because running at 1,000,000 miles an hour is not the answer, because you can get there, but if you drop dead because you killed yourself to get to the goal and you didn't do self-care in the meantime, that's not really helpful. We'd like for you to stay for a little while longer. Thank you very much. So don't run off and forget that you are important. Your self-care is important in the achieving of your goals. Right? This is about you. So don't be too hard on yourself for things that might shift. Be focused, be accountable to yourself. Get your accountability partner. Make sure they're as kind. Remember, as I talked about that kindness with your accountability partner, as you need to be to yourself too. Specifically mental health. That's absolutely right. To be whole is the goal. That is absolutely correct. Say it again, Pastor Daniels. To be whole is the goal. Type it one more time for anybody who might have missed it. But that's the truth. Okay. He did it again. To be whole is the goal. So that's where I'm gonna go. The last thing I'm gonna show you is your vision board, your goal setting vision board. I'm gonna make this big, and then I'll open it up for any questions that you might have. And I'm fine. People who need to go, you can go. If I need to stay a little longer, I'm happy to do that, so that you can ask any questions if you have them. But here's your vision board. 4 quadrants. You can't really see my dots because you can't see my dots. That's okay. But these are 4 quadrants. So who do I want to be? I want you to write that down because remember, we're talking about shaping our goals. What are the steps that I'll take to get there? What do I want people to say about me? What's my leadership aroma? And who is going to help me? Yep. See, Amanda, that's good. My friends and I are doing virtual vision board next week. I did my vision board. I'm going to pull it up for you all to see in a second when I come back. But I did my vision board, and I didn't have time this year to go and get the big board. So you don't need the big board. I'm going to show you what I did. Hold on. Let's come back to me for a second. I did this on a piece of paper. Right? So you can do your vision board by yourself. You don't, I mean, with something smaller. You don't have to have the big, huge, you don't have to have it because I didn't have any magazines because I threw them all out. So I had to like print some stuff and paste it on. That's okay. Right? This is mine. I have my goals up here. So, when you're thinking about setting your goals, it doesn't have to be, in some massive vision board. It's great if you can, but it doesn't have to be. Right? Just think through those things. So I'm going to open the floor for questions. I hope that was helpful. I know it's fast. It went so quickly. I'd love to do some more, but I think we're running. I'd love to be able to answer any questions that you might have too. So I'm going to do that first. If you have a question, I will just ask you to raise hand so I can see you. And I will call on you and have you come off mic so that we can hear some other voices other than mine. And I know that I wasn't that good, so don't make me have to call on people because I'll start calling on people if you don't ask questions. Not? I can't have been that thorough. Who's going to be the first brave soul?
I have a question.
Thank you.
This is Joe Daniels III. You had talked about being the dog who barks the loudest. Um, how do you stay persistent without becoming annoying?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, so this is the thing. I don't mean to be inappropriate by any stretch, but I had people like there's one person I can think of in particular. This one young lady who literally, anytime we had a meeting, like a meeting, I had a meeting with her, she'd start with, "Okay, this is what I want to achieve," and I'm not mad at her. I was like, you know what? Because it wasn't pushy. It was in an appropriate time. She did it like when we had natural time. She'd always make sure that she set aside time in the conversations we had to make sure I understood what she was trying to achieve. And that is not pushy, but it's just making sure that you're consistent about making sure the person understands it. Because people think, well, I'll go tell them my goals and then I'll tell them I want to be the next whatever, and then I'll go on about my merry way. When actually, people do forget too sometimes. You do want to be consistent, not forget, but it's the consistency. So when I say dog who barked the loudest, if she'd have barked loud at me, I'd probably have been tired. So that wouldn't have counted. But she was consistent in her message. She came and she'd be like, okay, so I have my hour with you once a month. This is what I've done. This is what's going on in the organization. This is going on in our department. And here's my goal. And she would ask me things like, and how can you help me to, what do I need to do to get to this? She didn't just say, I want to do this. She asked me, what do I need to do to get to this? Which creates a level of accountability, right? Because if I told her the wrong thing, she could be like, well, you told me. And I mean, she wouldn't. But my point is, it creates a level of accountability with the person you're speaking to when you say to them, what do I need to do this? And you know that they are in control of making that decision. Right. So it's important that you not only ask what you should be like, not that you not only state what your intention is, that you ask how they can help you to get to that. Especially if they're in a decision-making seat. And she would ask me every single time, am I doing the right stuff to get to the goal that I talked to you about? And I never forgot. And I mean, she honestly was on the top of my list. But the thing about your development is it's yours. It's not the other person's. And your best advocate is always going to be you. The person who speaks for you the best is always going to be you. You might have people that are advocates who are alongside of you, but if you can't speak for yourself and if you can't be clear about your goals, it makes it hard for other people too.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Aside from having an accountability partner, how do you handle self-motivation when you go off course? Crystal? I've been asking that to myself for a long time. And I'll tell you what I do, right? Um, I am I'm a ambivert, and that's kind of somebody who's both introverted and extroverted. Like I love being by myself. It is the best thing ever. But I also get a lot of energy from other people. And for me, I know that when I'm not being accountable to things, it's usually because I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy for that. And so I usually go to people that I think will kind of help me with that energy. That's really what it is for me. Um, like I talked about my sister. The other one is my mother. And when I'm not being accountable for a goal, she's the one I'll go to because she'll give me tough love, but still, she's not like my husband. So she'll still give me tough love though. She'll say, "Listen," and she'll say, "Girl, you better get on and do this thing or do that thing that you said you were going to do or whatever it might be." And that's helpful to me because I know that she's saying that from a place of love, but she's giving me a little kick. And sometimes you need a little push because it's not always easy for self motivation. So my self motivation, my motivating myself comes with usually me going to somebody to kind of, and she would always say to me, and this is the thing, she said, "You don't want to do it?" And I say, "No." She said, "Then it's not the right thing.
Yeah.
Shelf it." That's what she used to always say to me. "Oh, you're not doing it? Then you don't want to do it." So that, and it's true, right? Because for things you want to do, you'll find a way.
Yeah. I think energy is the right word. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's energy.
It
You
is.
know? Yeah.
Busy. We're busy. We have a lot going on.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And so you set goals, and it's not that they aren't important to you, but you just don't have the energy for it because of the other things that are happening. So then the question becomes, how important is that goal for you right now? It may be that you have to reprioritize it happening and when it's going to happen. Just because you don't do something right now doesn't mean it's not important or but you shouldn't do it. But I tell you, Eileen, my mother, gives me the hard foot, right? She's like, then it's not that important to you. Put that, go do something else. Like go on to the next one, and that might be true for some, and that is true for me mostly, but it might just mean not right now. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
My pleasure. So, anybody else have a question before we?
Yeah, I wanted to know what are some things that you could suggest to like tracking your goals and just making sure you're knocking things off your checklist?
So I am a spreadsheet junkie. So I put everything in spreadsheets. Like I do my goals in a spreadsheet. Like there are a lot of goal templates and things like that that you can use, but I just tend to get a spreadsheet and I do it this way. I put the SMART and then I put the goal so that I can track like the things I'm going to do against the goal. Like I need for me a map. I can't do like if I just write the goal, that's it's not useful. But in a spreadsheet for me, in a spreadsheet, I like have it, and I keep my spreadsheet printed on my board, on my whiteboard. Like I put my spreadsheet there, and then I also often will keep it, particularly when I'm not engaging with my goals. I'll also keep it on my screen, like I'll have it in the background on my desktop. I do that a lot. When I'm really trying to focus on a goal, I put it on my desktop and I always leave it open. Even if I'm closing the other things, I leave my goals open just because seeing them reminds you, for me anyway. But tracking, I usually do it. For me, I do it in Excel because I think it's a good way of doing it. And you can create, like different little cells for the different pieces. Is that helpful, Mark?
Oh, yes, I've never tried that. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anybody else? Well, good people, it is 8:03. We made it. Mr. Daniels, over to you.
All righty, here we go. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of workshop number one. If we could all unmute and give a good round of applause to send positive energy to Miss India and for all the great work she's done to prepare for us.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you, India.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Wonderful. I really hope that you all were blessed, and I pray that you all will continue to craft out the vision that you want for this year, your stepping stone goals, your short-term, long-term, lifetime goals. Go ahead and continue working on that tonight, going into the rest of the week and for the rest of the month. And let's get this year kicked off great.